Every card a referee has ever shown in any football match anywhere in the world exists because of one man. He was Argentina's captain. In 1966, he refused to leave a pitch, and England never forgave his country for what came after. He died 4 days before England and Argentina met again at the 2026 World Cup. English parents used to warn their children about him. Behave, they'd say, or Rattín will come for you. Their monster. Big, fierce, a face you don't forget. Except, this monster was so homesick, so far from home, that his wife and children recorded their voices onto tapes for him, and every night before he could sleep, he'd play them back just to hear their voices. The rivalry he came to embody would survive a real war, the most famous piece of cheating in the sport's history, and one kick that turned a whole country against its own golden boy. When these two play, the scoreboard says 0-0. It's the most dishonest number in football. Long before Rattín, England had already handed Argentina the very thing they'd spend the next century fighting over, because Argentina took England's game and made it their own. 150 years ago, British workers were all over Argentina. Railwaymen, sailors, school teachers, and they brought a ball with them and taught the locals to play. There's a club there called Newell's Old Boys, named after an English school teacher from Kent. Remember that club, it matters at the end. English football liked to tell itself a story about fair play. Play by the rules, lose with a straight face. Argentine football prized something else. Viveza criolla. Cunning and proud of it. Two footballing cultures that don't even agree on what winning is allowed to look like. And the first time it truly boiled over was 1966. London. England are hosting the World Cup, and in the quarterfinal, they draw Argentina. Half an hour in, Argentina's captain, Antonio Rattín, starts arguing with the referee. The referee is German. Rattín speaks no German. The referee speaks no Spanish, and the referee sends him off. Rattín won't go. In his mind, he's owed a translator, and no one will give him one. He genuinely believes he's being cheated by the hosts in their own stadium. And there are no red cards yet. Nobody invented them. The referee has nothing to hold up, just a pointing finger and a man who won't move. The referee later said he sent Rattín off just for the look on his face. The game stops for minutes. Nobody quite knows what to do. Finally, he starts the long walk off, and on the way, he grabs the corner flag with the Union Jack on it and twists it, crumples it in his fist. Then he sees the red carpet on the touchline, the one laid down for the Queen of England, and Antonio Rattín sits himself down on the Queen's carpet like a man who owns it. England won the match 1-0, but Argentina went home certain they'd been robbed, and they called that game El Robo del Siglo, the theft of the century. The scoreboard said 1-0, but there's a lot it didn't say. Watching from the stands was an English referee, Ken Aston, in charge of the officials that day. Driving home from Wembley that evening, he stopped at a traffic light. Yellow, slow down. Red, stop. Colors that anyone understands in any language. 4 years later, at the next World Cup, referees walked out holding colored cards for the first time. A yellow and a red. Every card you have ever seen in any match anywhere on earth was born from one afternoon when England played Argentina and nobody could understand the referee. 60 years later, at this World Cup, Argentina played a match wearing black armbands because that morning Antonio Rattín had died. The monster England invented who fell asleep to his children's voices on a tape. A man on a carpet is a strange story, almost a funny one. What came next was not. 16 years later, in 1982, these two countries went to war. Far out in the South Atlantic sits a tiny windswept group of islands. Britain calls them the Falklands, Argentina calls them Las Malvinas. Both say they own them. Argentina sent soldiers to take them, Britain sent a navy 8,000 miles to take them back. 10 weeks of real war over a handful of rocks. By the end, more than 900 people were dead, most of them young. And 4 years later, the two countries that had done that to each other were drawn to play football. Argentina had a player who understood exactly what that match really was. He was about to score 2 goals, 4 minutes apart, that the world is still arguing about today. Mexico City, the Azteca, the quarterfinal. 114,000 people packed in. Argentina's number 10 is the best player alive, maybe the best there's ever been, Diego Maradona. 51 minutes in, a ball loops up into the England area. Maradona goes up for it against the England goalkeeper who's a foot taller than him, and he reaches up and punches it into the net with his hand. The referee is behind the play, he doesn't see it, and gives the goal. Every England player saw it, the whole stadium saw it, a billion people at home saw it. The one man who didn't was the only one who mattered. Afterwards, they asked Maradona, "Did you handle it?" And he smiled and said the goal was scored a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. To England, that's cheating. To Argentina, viveza criolla, genius. And then, 4 minutes later, he gets the ball in his own half, nearly 60 yards out, and starts to run. Past one England player, past another, past two more, around the goalkeeper, and rolls it in. 10 seconds, 60 yards, the whole England team beaten by one man. Many people still call it the greatest goal ever scored. The same player, the same 4 minutes, the most dishonest goal you'll ever see, and then maybe the most beautiful. England lost 2-1. But the scoreboard didn't show the war behind it or the boys who never came home. Years later, Maradona admitted the handball was deliberate, and he tied it straight to the war. Beating England, he said, felt like beating a whole country. They'd been told Argentine boys were killed out there. Killed, in his words, like little birds. And this was revenge. And in England, that day became a debt. Something they've been waiting 60 years to collect. 1998. These two again. England's golden boy David Beckham gets fouled. And while he's down, flicks his boot at the Argentine standing over him. Barely a touch. But the Argentine drops like he's been shot. Red card. England lose, and a whole country turns on Beckham. Effigies of him are hung and burned outside pubs. One of England's most popular newspapers runs a headline, 10 heroic lions, 1 stupid boy. Almost branding David Beckham a traitor. For a year, David can't walk down a street in peace. Which brings us to now. England have won the World Cup for the game that they created exactly once. In 1966. They haven't even reached a final since. 60 years. Win this and they're just one game away from ending the longest wait in their history. And it's the bill for the hand of God finally landed on the table. For Argentina, it's just as heavy. They're the champions and they're carried by a 39-year-old playing what everyone knows is his last World Cup. Across 6 World Cups, Lionel Messi has never once played England. He walks into this fight for the first time at 39. England lean on 2 men. Harry Kane, their captain, the greatest goal scorer they've ever had, and a 23-year-old Jude Bellingham. At this tournament, Bellingham scored twice in one knockout game, then twice in the next. Only one player had ever done that at a World Cup, Diego Maradona in 1986. And Bellingham did it in the Azteca, the same stadium in Mexico City. As if England had sent a boy to walk into Argentina's most sacred ground and do their God's trick back to them. Look at the Argentina team that walks out to face England. 9 of their squad have earned their living in England. Their goalkeeper in Birmingham, both their centre backs in London and Manchester. The midfielder who set up their winning goal in the last round in Liverpool for my club. Nearly 30 years after that red card, Beckham posts a photo from Miami. Him and Simeone, the Argentine who got him sent off, arms around each other, smiling. Bumped into an old friend, he captions it. And Messi? Messi plays his football in America now, for a club owned by an Englishman. The same David Beckham a nation once burned outside pubs because of Messi's Argentina. And that club I told you to remember, Newell's Old Boys, named after an English teacher from Kent, that's the club that made Messi. The greatest Argentine of them all learned the game at a club named after an Englishman. On the surface, it looks finished. The hatred cooled into friendship. These players don't seem to carry the old wounds at all. But their countries won't let them put it down, because on Wednesday, none of it is up to the players. Argentina's manager keeps begging everyone, please, it's just a football game. He's not wrong. He's just 60 years too late. England handed Argentina this game. Argentina made it their own and gave it back as 60 years of heartbreak. England's manager, Thomas Tuchel, isn't English, but even he understands the weight of this one. Yes, it will reward us, he said. We will get it back. It's karma. We will turn it around. So when the board says 0-0, don't believe it. Because it contains a homesick man on the Queen's carpet, a war and the boys who never came home, one illegal hand and one impossible run, a red card that made a country hate its golden boy, a kid walking through a ghost's footprints at the same stadium in which he walked. And underneath all of it, an old man in Buenos Aires who fell asleep to his family's voices on a tape and didn't live to see how it ends. That's why England and Argentina can't just shake hands and kick off. There's too much in the way. I'm Sahil. I love the football feeling. Subscribe if I've made you love it too.